No, he's not an elite quarterback. He's a product of the system. It's more credit to Kyle Shanahan and what he's done.
There is one thing that does make me pause on San Francisco. You know, I'm a big believer. I like my quarterbacks to be adults. I don't want them to be frat boys. Hey, you guys want to hit some golf balls? You got a hat on backwards.
Brock Purdy is a good quarterback surrounded by immense talent across the board. Elite? No.
In 1976, former USC and NFL receiver Paul Salata coined a term and an event in Newport Beach, California. Every single year, a guy from the NFL draft would enjoy a trip to Disneyland with the family and would be presented the Lozman Trophy. It's similar to the Heisman Trophy, except the player is fumbling the football. Each year, Mr. Irrelevant gets to spend an all-expenses-paid week in Newport Beach. And 2 years ago, a four-year senior out of Iowa State got the call as the last pick in the 2022 NFL Draft. And since then, he has set the league ablaze.
Come playoff time, Purdy has it blocked. Floating one downfield for Kittle. He's got it! Touchdown, San Francisco. Purdy lofting, going deep, has McCaffrey. He's got it! Touchdown, San Francisco.
But this highly doubted success has come with a cost. Brock Purdy has become one of the most criticized and controversial players in the NFL today without any real reason behind it. So let's break down where this journey began and find the real cause of all the hate. Flashback to December 27th, 1999. Enter to the world a newborn in the hands of Sean and Carrie Purdy. While Sean grew up in Florida and Carrie grew up in California, the couple chose to start their family right in the middle in Phoenix, Arizona. Now, Brock's dad had actually been to this area before because he was a minor league baseball player and had to stop there. Sean Purdy was drafted in the 26th round in the 1991 MLB draft by the California Angels. Purdy was actually drafted multiple times and had multiple opportunities to go start a professional baseball career, but he decided to go to junior college for 2 years at Valencia Community College and Indian River State College. He would then transfer to the University of Miami to play for the Hurricanes. Purdy went on to have an 8-year professional baseball career, lasting from 91 all the way to 98. In the final year of his career, Purdy played for the Richmond Braves, and at that time, Richmond was the AAA affiliate of the Atlanta Braves. Sean Purdy wound up being one of the best pitchers on that team that season, finishing 3-1 with a 1.8 ERA and over 16 appearances. He struck out over 20 hitters in just 34 innings pitched. But when he got the news that he was having his first son, he decided to hang up the cleats and go all in as a father. See, Sean's son, Brock Purdy, he knew who he was from a very young age. He grew up surrounded by sports because of his father's background. As a young athlete, Brock had the option to follow his father's path and become a baseball legend just like his dad.
Did Brock play other sports growing up, or was it always just football?
No, he played baseball, and he was a really good baseball player. He was a shortstop, and he was a pitcher, but just had a passion for football. You know, he used to sit on that coffee table, and he'd have that football under his arm and just wanting to be in that TV.
Now, despite the initial inclination towards baseball, Purdy's fascination with football came to be at just the age of 5. It was sparked by watching Tim Tebow and the Florida Gators. I would sit on our coffee table at home and just watch and be so fascinated with the hype of the game and the environment. That's what Purdy had said on the 49ers You Got Mail podcast. I wanted to play in an environment like that. Watching the Gators when I was young, it definitely got me going on the football trend. Purdy's parents, they shared that he always had a football in his hands, and all he ever wanted to be was a professional quarterback. When he started playing tackle football at the age of 12, his coaches asked what position he'd want to play, and he'd quickly respond quarterback. They'd ask, well, if not quarterback, what else? For Purdy, though, there was no question. He was set on playing quarterback. His dad, Sean, was a devoted Dan Marino and Miami Dolphins fan, and this played a pivotal role in shaping Purdy's football journey. Learning how to throw a football from his dad, Purdy adopted Marino's quick release, and even his iconic number 13 as a symbolic nod to the quarterback that he was trying to emulate. See, Purdy, he never let go of that dream he had as just a 5-year-old kid. He was steadfast on his passion for football from junior high all the way to the pros. His mom had even said on the Sports Spectrum podcast,
you know, you got kids who go to high school and what are you going to be when you grow up? A pharmacist or a doctor or whatever. Brock, what are you going to be at 5? Football player. Junior high. Brock, what are you going to be? You got a backup plan. I'm going to be a football player, Mom. College. Brock, I'm going to school for business, Mom, but I'm going to be a football player. Never, ever wavered from playing in the NFL, ever.
Now, like his mother said, Brock had never wavered from becoming a professional football player. But once it was time to go to Iowa State, it proved to be a painful journey because the goal had started to seem a bit far-fetched. See, even before Purdy stepped on campus, turmoil would set in. In May of 2017, during a bonding session with his high school football team, they headed out to play paintball like every high school team does. Purdy, being competitive in nature, had went a little too hard and ended up stumbling into a cactus, where he would puncture his left hand. This caused Purdy to miss almost the entire spring season, which for you Northerners, the spring football season in high school is a time where all the coaches come and see you. This can make or break college offers. And for Purdy, this caused some of the big ones to slip away, which ultimately caused Brock to end up at Iowa State. But he knew that he wouldn't be the starter there come day one. So he worked and he worked in silence, but he made sure each and every day that he was just getting better. Then came the day. Iowa State's starting quarterback, Kyle Kempt, faced an injury in the first game of the 2018 season. They were going up against in-state rival Iowa, and their backup quarterback Zed Noland had to step in. Noland would actually start the next 3 contests where he would put up like decent numbers, but only to the tune of 1 win during that stretch. So Brock Purdy, he wouldn't have to wait much longer. October 6, 2018, Stillwater, Oklahoma. The Cyclones were facing off against number 25 Oklahoma State. Starting with an 0-2 record in the Big 12 at that point, Nolan would go on to play 1 series for the Cyclones that game, only totaling 3 plays. And Brock knew a change was coming at some point that day, so he made sure not to waste his opportunity. That week, Coach Campbell told me I was going to get in, and I didn't really overthink it. I just went with it. That's a quote from Purdy reflecting on his first game as a college quarterback. When my opportunity came, I just went out and played football and kept it simple. The true freshman had taken 2 collegiate snaps the entire season before entering that game in Stillwater, both of which were runs. But this day, he let his arm do the talking. Purdy would go 18 of 23 for 318 yards and 4 touchdowns, which was on the way to a 48-42 Iowa State victory, marking the beginning of a new era in Cyclone quarterback history. Iowa State would go on to win 7 of their last 8 games, setting the stage for Brock and the Cyclones to carry the momentum of 2018 into the future. And come September 4th, the next season against Northern Iowa, Brock Purdy was ready to etch his name in Iowa State history. His arrival onto the scene in 2018 earned him Big 12 Freshman of the Year. He earned first team All Big 12 honors in 2020 and was the offensive MVP of the Fiesta Bowl. Brock was entering his senior year first in touchdown passes, first in touchdowns responsible, first in quarterback wins, second in passing yards, second in completions, and second in total offense in Iowa State history. Since Purdy had taken over at quarterback, Iowa State was averaging 430 yards of offense a game, and his role was growing louder and louder within the community. But with this success comes noise, and most of the noise included expectations and a perceived burden to perform. As the 2020 season approached, it became tougher and tougher for the quarterback to ignore it. See, Brock Purdy had tried all of his life to ignore the noise, the good and the bad. His dad's message was to focus on what you can control, and that had been on his mind since he stepped on campus. His dad would tell him, "I've taught my boys to focus on one task at a time. You're no good to anyone or to yourself when you think too far down the road." But see, playing quarterback, it comes with a ton of baggage. Win and success is put on your shoulders. Lose and questions begin to swirl about whether or not you can be the one to lead your team to victory. Combine that with a program starving for a win like Iowa State, and a sense of hype enters that conversation. Brock's rise to starting quarterback came with never before seen production in Ames, Iowa. His name was being put on NFL draft boards. Social media and fans were bombarding him with constant admiration. But as he entered the 2020 and 2021 season, it all became too much. Brock said, "Going into my junior year with all that hype, the human part of me listened to it. I knew it wasn't the best, but when you're on these draft boards and you're being talked about as one of the best quarterbacks in school history, I got caught up in what I didn't want to focus on." As Brock listened to the noise entering that season, his production wasn't up to his normal standards. Through his first 6 games, Brock had the lowest completion percentage of his career and had 5 touchdowns compared to 3 interceptions. He had yet to realize that he didn't need to do it all on his own, that greatness is a collective effort. Brock Purdy had to look himself in the mirror, but once he did, these sparks began to fly, and Purdy understood his best skill, being a teammate. Yeah, he was great on the field, the stats showed it, but by far his shining attribute was making those around him better. Although his team's record didn't reflect Purdy's leadership that season, you could start to see a different Brock Purdy brewing in Ames, Iowa. So come the 2022 NFL Draft, and you all know the story. Life comes full circle for Brock Purdy when the 49ers take on the Miami Dolphins. Brock took over as the starting quarterback in San Francisco, one of the most storied franchises in NFL history, especially for quarterbacks. Starting that season as his team's third-string QB, stepping in to face his family's favorite team with Dan Marino himself in attendance added such a surreal touch to the moment. Purdy stepped in and he would go on to win that game and lead the 49ers the rest of the season to the NFC Championship, where he would suffer an injury and his team would fall short. So entering his first NFL offseason, would the 49ers keep their third-string quarterback at QB? NFL analysts, they made it known that this would prove to be a bad call.
Brock Purdy would be the first rookie quarterback to go to a Super Bowl, but Shady, they gave up 3 first-round picks for a man by the name of Trey Lance.
Matt made a stir last week by saying that Sam Darnold may be the most talented thrower of the football the 49ers ever had.
You see, Purdy, he didn't care, and neither did the Niners. He rehabbed and started focusing on what made him so great. Those lessons that he learned at Iowa State, the understanding that he alone could make his team and everyone around him better. He didn't need to be more than he was. All he needed to do was be Brock. And come the start of the 2023-2024 season, he did just that. The 49ers started this season as one of the hottest and most complete teams in the league, and they were led by Mr. Irrelevant. Yes, there were ups and downs just like every quarterback has, but the 49ers, they never wavered in their support of this kid, and that all paid off because they're heading to another Super Bowl. But the discourse surrounding Brock Purdy has only gotten louder. Analysts are still questioning whether he's a game manager or an elite quarterback.
Is Brock Purdy is a game manager? Hey, that's just what I feel to be facts. But I still reserve the right to say this. To be labeled a game changer, Brock Purdy has to be the best player on the offensive side of the ball.
Opinions are constantly flying around from every single angle. Nobody seems to have a clear idea of what this guy really is.
But I just think the Brock Purdy thing is sort of strange to me.
What is it?
That he's the MVP. I think he's a good football player, and he's the best quarterback that Kyle Shanahan has had to run this offense. But I do not believe he should be in the MVP conversation.
No, he's not an elite quarterback. He's a product of the system. It's more credit to Kyle Shanahan and what he's done.
But you see, to Purdy, none of that matters. Who cares what Shannon Sharp and Stephen A think? He still shows up every day and continues to show out. In the NFC Championship game, Purdy looked nothing more than superhuman in that second half. He led that team vigorously to a win. He made the plays an elite QB would, but most importantly, he led the guys around him and helped them play to their strengths and continuously put them all in the right position to win. That is what truly makes a great QB. Who cares if he's a game manager? Who cares if he's elite? You could be the biggest, fastest freak of a guy, but if you don't win, does it really matter? See, Super Bowl victory or not, Brock Purdy will continue to defy the odds and prove to us all what is really possible. This is All Hail Cullen, and make sure you hit subscribe. We're dropping bangers on this channel weekly, and if you're looking for more fun and videos just like this, we actually have a basketball channel very similar. We're doing the same thing over there. It's called All Hail B-Ball Stories. Feel free to check it out. I'll link it here. But the content on Foul Play has only just started, so we will see you in the next one. Oh, by the way, Team All Hail is back. Peace.